Good morning. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. So, nice. We'll be doing something for Mother's Day here in a little bit, like we do every year. So, we do have a couple patron saints by the name of George Carlin and John Lennon, though. You know why? Well, because nobody else is doing it, and we're the Doyen Fellowship. But John said, your inside is out and your outside is in. I don't know. Go ahead. Yeah. I was like, okay. I mean, it sounds like it should be in a song. Probably was. And George, equally is like, what? Religion has convinced people there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything and does, and you do every single day. And the invisible man has a list of 10 specific things he doesn't want you to do. And if you do any of these things, he will send you to a special place of burning and fire and smoke and torture and anguish for you to live forever and suffer the burn and scream until the end of time. But he loves you, and he needs money. Yep. Go figure. So. All right, more t-shirts and sweatshirts. You really can if you wanted to, although I'm not sure why you want to have some of these things right here, but some of them are funny. I feel like my accomplishments today has been not saying what I'm thinking out loud. Hi, I don't care. Thanks. Lazy is such an ugly word. I prefer the term selective participation. So. All right. These are more insults from the past, when things were a little bit more eloquent, potentially, anyway. This was George Bernard Shaw to Winston Churchill. I am enclosing 2 tickets for the first night of my new play. Bring a friend if you have one. Winston Churchill to George. Cannot possibly attend first night. Will attend second if there is one. I feel so miserable without you. It's almost like having you here. Some of these, I might have to write them down. I don't know what it is. He is a self-made man and worships his creator. I've just learned about his illness. Let's hope it's not trivial. That one's really awful. But he said it anyway. Hey, we have a brand new video camera. Hi, YouTube. And so hopefully the video will be a little bit better. I'll look at least 10 years younger, right? So.
I can't guarantee that.
Oh, darn. Okay. And most importantly, the audio should be fabulous. So, things that make you go,
Give us a little bit of chance to test with the audio and stuff.
Okay. We recognize that flattery is poison, but its perfume intoxicates us. Whoever gossips to you will gossip of you. Yeah, probably true. Okay, I had to have like half of the church try to figure out how this word is pronounced, so I'm just going to go for it. You'll never know anyway. So, a poem written in honor of a bride and bridegroom is called an epithalamium. It is, yeah. Epithalamium. Oh, I know. I even stare at it. My tongue gets all twisted. And so, all right.
Valium is a poison.
Where's Josie? Where is she? You want to get up here? Oh, hey, Steve. How you doing? Nice to have you back. Saw your wife in the store the other day.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Doesn't sound like it's on, is it?
It's on.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
I'm Josie Holman, and I have been using a process. I've been using something called The Process for the last 17 years. And it's an easy way to get to core issues of negative experiences. So things like anger, frustration, rage, self-esteem. We can use 4 easy steps to get to that core issue and resolve it. And once you resolve it, we can tell the mind to come forward in time and clear from that moment up to the present in a matter of minutes. And so I will be teaching this class starting the 1st of June on how to do this. It's a very simple process, but it takes time to learn. And so it starts June 1st, and it goes for 5 Saturdays, every other Saturday in June and July, or 5 Tuesdays starting June 4th, okay? Rather than describe what this is more like, what I'd like to do is have people that have experienced stand up, and anybody that's experienced this as a client or a student. Okay, so you're free to talk to any of these people about their experience, and they can tell you what this was like. It's a very quick process. So if you'd like to learn it, I would suggest that you pick up the flyer in the back, because this is probably the last time I'm going to be teaching it. Okay?
Will they be able to do it to others or just for themselves?
You'll be able to do this to others. It's not easy to do on yourself. You can use this in energy work. You can use it using guided imagery or hypnosis. Okay, the process works the same regardless of what it is. So if you'll pick up the flyer, if you have an interest in doing this, talk to any of these students. If you have a financial situation, give me a call and we'll work something out. So thank you. Have a great Mother's Day.
Thank you, Josie. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Janice is actually over in Seattle at a 2-day seminar on healing meditation. So I asked her, so how's it going? She goes, yeah, I should be able to change this enough to make me feel okay. But it's good information, like they all are. The 50-50-90 rule. Anytime you have a 50-50 chance of getting something right, there's always a 90% probability you'll get it wrong. It is said that if you line up all the cars in the world end to end, someone from California would be stupid enough to try to pass them. It's just a joke in California, so it's just a joke. You can pick any state in the union. So, if the shoe fits, get another one just like it. What else going on? We have a calendar here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Way at the bottom. Doggone it. Course in Miracles. That was last Sunday. And then Oneness Blessing is today. Well, thank you, William and Sandra. They did a Oneness Blessing beforehand. Hi, everybody back there. Ooh, hi. And Oneness Blessing after service also. If you haven't done a Oneness Blessing, great opportunity. Emotion Code, tomorrow, Tuesday is Essential Oils. Wednesday is Qigong and meditation, Marianne. It's also National Chocolate Chip Day. So, yeah. Followers of the Way on Friday. So that's your chance to demystify the Bible.
On Friday?
So.
Yes, we changed
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Friday. Yep. So at least it says so right here, so it must be right? So, and then Tarot Mastery on Saturday. So, cool. All right. I'm almost done.
That's a graduation.
Yeah, it is. You're right. So never mind. It's as easy to learn something about everything, but difficult to learn everything about anything. And I did that last week. I remember. Well, and it's new to you. That's right. The greatest glory of a freeborn people is to transmit that freedom to their children. Nice. And one last thing. You can hear people in back going, oh, good. There was a burglar who broke into I did this one some time ago, but I'm going to do it again because I like it. There was a burglar who broke into a home and started to gather the items he wanted to take. All of a sudden he heard, Jesus is watching you. He didn't see anything in the dark house, so he went on with what he was doing. He heard, Jesus is watching you again, and then he really wondered who was saying that. He turned on the flashlight, scanned the room, and finally saw a parrot. Did you say that? Asked the burglar. Yes, replied the parrot. By the way, what's your name? The burglar required. Moses, answered the parrot. Well, that's a strange name for a parrot. Who named you that? Same people who named their Rottweiler Jesus. We are so blessed because we have so many capable people in this church. It just vanished. Oh, there it is. Except me. But while Janice is over on the west side trying to learn something to share with everyone, we are blessed to have someone here that can deliver a wonderful message. So, you know, I can talk about the background and the person and everything, but bottom line is just welcome him. Roy.
Can you hear me now? Sounds like Verizon. All right. Sometime in February, and I was going to deliver this message on Valentine's Day, but I got ill and then other things came up, and so Janice and I discussed it, and we said, well, why don't we wait till Mother's Day? And what I want to talk about is the word love. In our society, this day and age, we use the word very liberally. I love my dog. I love you. I don't love you. I like him. I don't love you. You know, I love my book. I love baseball, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought it'd be good to go back and review what the Bible actually says about love. And so that's going to be my message. And if anybody has any questions when I'm done, I'd be glad to answer them. But it's interesting because in the days of the First Corinthians written, they had a common language called Greek, called Koine Greek, and they had specific words for specific reasons. And one of those was the word love. And there was 4 different definitions of that. The first one was eros, which you're probably familiar with, physical love, you know. Storge, family love, brother to a sister, aunt to an uncle, et cetera, et cetera. Phila, which is where they get the city of Philadelphia from, brotherly love. It's brotherly love. And then the one we want to look at this morning is agape, which is the godly love. And that's the one I want to go back to. And I was thinking last night, how does this apply to Mother's Day, you know? I had this set for Valentine's Day, now all of a sudden here we switch over to Mother's Day. If you think about it, as I go through these points, there's no greater sacrifice than a mother has to her newborn child. She totally puts that child in the limelight and she steps aside and lets that child take place. So what I want to do is I want to read this, 1 Corinthians 13. I'm going to read the entirety of it, and I'm going to go back and hit some points on it, and I'll try not to take too long. I'm reading out of the New King James, by the way. This is one I'm used to, so. All right. Plus it looks impressive. But anyway, it says, and I'll explain some of this as I go through. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, what they're talking about there is, there was different languages, obviously. If people could speak that. But the tongues of angels seems to stop people once in a while. What does that mean? Well, back in the day that 1 Corinthians was written, there was a certain sect that believed that angels had a specific language. And that if you were spiritual, you could understand that language. And so that's what he's saying. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I become a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have faith, so that I could remove mountains but have not love, I am nothing. In other words, what's the motivating factor behind it is what it's basically saying there. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long, and is kind, does not envy, does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, is not provoked or thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, and rejoices in truth, hears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. And the conclusion of that, stopping there, is love never fails. And what I want to do is I want to go through those different points, because I think you'll different when I went through it of what they stood for and that. So I'll go through them real quick, and again, I'll try not to, you know. And the whole thing, if you look at 1 Corinthians 13, the question is, when you're putting out something, what is your motivation? So many times we use love today as more of a manipulation to get what we want. I love you, and therefore I'm expecting this back. And that's not the agape love or the true love that God designed us to have. The first one, love suffers long, is patient. And it's interesting because I study these words in the Greek, which is what they're in. And believe it or not, it means avoiding a response of retaliation or being only frustrated with the choices you've made or they have made. Includes self-restraint, seeking to understand rather than being provoked. The opposite is tolerant or complaining, or not complaining, all right? The next one, love is kind, to be useful or helpful. Kindness is not only an attitude, but an action. Now, as I go through these, think about a mother with a newborn child. She fits these roles. You know. Love does not envy. It does not boil or burn to zeal, is what that word actually means. And in the Greek, it actually meant to earnestly covet or desire. So, we don't want to do that, obviously. You know, it's interesting because when I was going through this, I was thinking about mothers. And there was a story of a mother that became pregnant, obviously. And 6 months into her pregnancy, she found out that she had cancer. And she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, we can treat the cancer, it may or may not help, but you'll probably lose the fetus. And she chose not to do that. She said, no, I'll pass on that. She actually lived 5 more years and gave birth to me. So whenever I think of sacrifice, ultimate love and all that, that's ultimate love. You know? And what's interesting is, we were doing Followers of the Way, as Phil mentioned, we have on Friday. And we were talking about 1 Corinthians 13, does not envy and all that. And I said, well, if it does not envy, what's the opposite of that? And there's a word that I looked up, and I've never heard it before. And it's a shame because it's a beautiful word. And I get this from Brock and Brandy in the back. They're friends of ours. Great people. If you don't know them, then I really encourage you to get to know them. But anyway, we were at Live at 5. And Brock had this little toy and he was flipping it up. Remember that, Brock? And their son Marcus was cackling. And we were laughing because Marcus was laughing. That's the opposite of envy. And it's actually a word called compersion. C-O-M-P-E-R-S-I-O-N. And I took it right from Merriam-Webster. The feeling of joy one has experiencing another's joy. Such as witnessing a toddler's joy and feeling joy in response. Seeing a loved one love another. That's the opposite of envy. Beautiful word. Love does not parade itself. In other words, it doesn't need to be the center of attention. You know, an egotist, well, the nice thing about them, they don't talk about anybody else. But, you know, that would be where an egotist would fit in. You know, me, 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 me. You know. It's not puffed up. In other words, it doesn't parade itself to show attention to oneself or be the limelight. It passes. And like I said, a good example of that's mothers, you know, with their newborn. When you go see a mother with a newborn, are you paying attention to the mother? No. You know. It always tickled me how you go into and you talk to the kids, you know, like, you know, hey, you understand me, don't you? Hey, how you doing there? You know. But it does not parade itself, not puffed up. Does not behave rudely. In other words, it does not seek to belittle others. Have you ever been in that situation where somebody will say something and somebody will slam them, you know? It's rooted in selfishness if it actually behaving rudely. And then I thought about, there's a verse in the Bible that says, a kind word spoken, you know, that's the opposite of it. When somebody could rile you up, and instead, you know, you say something nice. The other day, I do have a part-time job at the Home Depot now, and we had a customer walk up, and I mean, he was really rude and all that, and I just turned around and said, sir, I'm sorry you're having a bad day, can I help you? His whole mood changed, you know. Now I could have said, hey, you jerk, get out of here.
You can think it, but don't say it.
You're not even supposed to think it. That's the hard part, is train yourself not to think that. When in reality, you know, all around you is doing that, you know. So, it does not seek its own. And I put down here, do not insist on your own way. Do not do their own interest. Instead of me telling Jimmy, I want to do this today, I should say, Jimmy, what do you want to do today? What can we do today? So it changes the whole context of it. It does not rejoice in iniquity, and I think you know what that means. It does not. This is the one I like. This goes back to gossip. If you'll notice, I don't know if you've ever read that in the Bible, but it says gossip is murmuring and it says witchcraft. In other words, it's evil because it does no good. Gossip harms people. And therefore the Bible says, you know, does not rejoice in iniquity, you know. I'll just use an example, Carol. Carol works for a company, and there's a couple people there that are really negative, and I tell her, stay away from them because they'll rub off on you. You know, you don't want to act like that, and she doesn't. She stays away from them. Love never fails. I like this, all right? Well, no, let me go back. It thinks no evil. That thinks no evil means, have you ever heard the term, I'll forgive you, but I'll never forget it?
Yeah.
That's not agape love. That word there, thinks no evil, is actually a bookkeeping term from those old days where you chalk up the ledger. She did this to me, he did this to me. He did this, he did that. Boy, look at the marks on that one. You know? That's not what you want to do, you know. What I'm trying to express here is we need to consider our actions towards other individuals. Are we actually showing love because we want to love them and we want that love extended? Or are we doing it as a motivational factor to get something out of them? Have you ever had I was thinking about Christmas. You know, some people feel obligated to give you a present. There's a whole different attitude when here's a present where somebody gives it and they're doing it out of love. You know. So, all right. Love never fails. I like this one. It endures forever. It does not change. You made me mad, so for the next hour and a half, I'm not going to love you. Yeah, and I've heard that. You know, I've heard terms like that. And then finally, love never fails. If not motivated by love, what are you motivated by? All right. And the thing I thought about, the epitome to me of love, is when Christ was on the cross. And keep in mind, these pictures you see of Christ sitting on the cross and he's kind of smiling. The Bible says he was so beaten and scourged you could not recognize him as a man. That's a whole lot different than that image. But what I thought about was, what was his reason for up there? Because he loved mankind and he wanted to save it. And you think about it, if you'd been beaten like that, what would you say? Curse you all. But what did he say? Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. That's the epitome of love. And I just ask you today, when extend your love, what's your motivation for it? Are you extending it out of love, or are you extending it out of something to get out of it? So, thank you.
Let's, gosh, you know, the first thing that came to my mind just now was something I did about 22 years ago. This time of year, this type of weather, we were in a little room. It's our first location. We had little fold-up chairs, and I says, you know, for $1, I'd say, let's all pack up and go outside and have services outside. I turned around, and everyone was picking up their chair and going outside. So it was a beautiful time. Actually, that service, you know, how some things just kind of just stick in your mind. And we were outside, and Jan was doing a guided meditation. And some of you have heard this story before, but you know, we're just sitting there, this gorgeous, you know, right next to the Columbia River, and it's like, it was just really nice. And birds were singing. And what did Jan say? She said something about silence, and all the birds stopped. And this dove flew down and sat on the kind of a perch right behind her, and just sat there. No noise, everything stopped. And she just kind of looked around, because she heard what happened, and she went on, and then she ended with what she was doing, and all the birds started up again, and the bird flew off, and so it was quite a magical moment. Roy, you want to help me?
Sure.
Okay. You need all the help I can get. Want to take those two? Sure. Okay. This is always a special time. For us, it's a little bit different. We truly believe that there is something else out there that is larger than us all, and helps guide us in all that we do. You know, Jan and I, we call that person God, or that entity God. But you know, if you're by a river and looking at nature, I mean, that's the same thing. You know, it really doesn't matter what you call that entity. Don't have to call it anything. Don't have to believe in God. Just that there is something else out there that is bigger than all of us, and it helps us if we ask. So, in that person's name. Can't do it on the right side here. Your left side.
You might want to tell them what's in the thing, just in case.
Was nothing in there. There is unleavened bread for traditionalists, and that's what I always take, actually. There are animal crackers for definitely people that are not traditional, and that's cool too. And then there's gluten-free bread also. And this is the other part of it. Funny how we all get used to what we do. And we try to do something different, and we just get all discombobulated. Had a lady on the phone the other day. I used that word, and she goes, "Oh my God, I use that word all the time. My child tells me nobody ever uses that word anymore." Yes, they do. Well, if you're our age, anyway. Any volunteer? No volunteer? Who said that? Okay.
I did that just to get them.
Okay.
So, as you all know, every week we send these around. You all know it's to help keep the lights on in here and to help pay for a lot of repairs and things that are going to be needed.
God doesn't need your money.
No. And yes, the Vidicram, we're going to be putting new flooring in back there and replacing the carpet. This is just an addition to the other things that we do to provide for our church. This is your way of giving your blessing if you can't afford to give something monetary. Bless the money that's in there that goes out into the community and blesses others who touch it. Bless the basket. So give what you can. We appreciate anything that you can give. And God bless you all, and have a happy Mother's Day for those mothers. And thank you to Jenny, Jimmy, and Mary Lou for the little project we had this morning. That was very helpful. Thank you so much. So enjoy your day. Yeah, well, it's a secret, as you well know, unless you've been here every year for Mother's Day. And then you'll know what it is.
Mother's Day is always something special. So sometimes, I know some people, this is their first year without mom. So,
And you know the song you played today?
Uh-huh.
It was the song you played right after my mom passed away last April.
Oh, is that right? Oh, my. Okay. Okay. But yeah, so it's, what can you say? You want to do a guided meditation?